Hey there folks, Wrel here. Today we're going to be re-reviewing the specialty grenades for the heavy assault class because as of October 29th, 2014, there have been a number of changes worth talking about. That said, we're going to break down the specifics of each grenade type and offer up some tips on how to use them effectively. Outside of the standard frag, heavy assaults have access to both anti-vehicle grenades and concussion grenades. Anti-vehicle grenades are going to run you 100 certs to unlock, while concussions will run you 200. However, both grenade types cost 50 nanites with each use. Now prior to the update, AV grenades were some of the most potent anti-infantry spammables around, while concussion grenades were basically an I win button for anyone who can avoid concussing themselves. The new patch completely turns that on its head. We'll talk about concussion grenades during the first half of the video, and then move on to AV grenades towards the end. Concussion grenades now have a 3-second fuse, which puts them in line with most other grenades. Before the update, conks would detonate on impact, which made them extremely controllable and potent. Now upon detonation, concussion grenades blur the vision of enemies affected, slow down their movement speed, and reduce their mouse sensitivity. The concussion effect lasts for 5 seconds regardless of how far you are from the impact, and targets within a maximum of 10 meters will feel the effects to greater or lesser degrees. As of the update, the intensity of the blur, the movement speed, and the sensitivity reduction now tapers based on the distance you are from the impact, and the grenade's effect does observe line of sight. Here are 3 quick examples of a single swipe with the mouse across my mousepad while I'm roughly 0, 5, and 10 meters away from the blast area. As you can probably tell, both your sensitivity and the visual blur is heavily affected while on top of the grenade, but it tapers quickly toward the edges of the impact area. Unlike the light assault's flash grenades, concussion grenades currently do not display hit markers, and this has always been the case for concussion grenades, but without their controllability, I believe that this was just an oversight and hopefully it gets fixed. Much like flashbangs, with the lack of controllability, knowing if your grenade affected anyone is literally hit or miss. Speaking of which, teammates who kill enemies under the effects of your concussion grenade will provide you with an assist bonus in the form of a handful of experience. This also helps provide some clarity on how effective your concussion grenade actually was at helping your team out, but it's still a guessing game before that point. As far as strategy is concerned, you've basically lost the ability to make reactive concussion throws, but you've at least gained a little bit when it comes to making plays for areas that are normally death traps, thanks to being able to bank the grenades around corners. With this change, concussion grenades act much more like frag grenades in that you can expect your enemies to see the red indicator and then start running from it. But with concussion grenades, you're not just going to take a little bit of damage and then shrug it off. If you're within 10 meters of the blast, you're at a much more noteworthy disadvantage. That being said, especially if you're a newer player, learn how to throw the standard frag first. Learn how to bank it around corners, learn how to put it in the right places before you start playing with concussion grenades. Overall, I believe that concussion grenades have taken a huge dive in effectiveness. Before this update, concussion grenades kept the same intensity throughout the radius, barring some glitchy edge cases, and between the tapering effect and the lack of controllability, reasons to use them over alternatives are few and far between. But I guess that can be an advantage in itself because on live server, most players don't run clear vision, either because they haven't unlocked it yet, or because concussion grenades just aren't common enough to make it worthwhile. And given how common flak armor is, concussion grenades can still offer up a combat advantage that the standard frag won't offer. That goes doubly so given that the new changes remove a lot of the value that clear vision had outside of doing room holds and sitting on capture points and just guarding other important and enclosed areas. So if less people decide to start running clear vision, then that technically makes the grenades more useful. Still, if I were to change one thing about the new concussion grenades, it would be to lower the fuse from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. That'd provide a little bit more controllability and even allow us to air det conks in certain situations. This would be balanced given the tapering effect concussions have the further you are from the impact, but right now I think that they've fallen to about a flash grenade level of usefulness, which is to say, not so great. Fortunately, the anti-vehicle grenades have undergone some more positive changes. Prior to this update, anti-vehicle grenades dealt 700 infantry damage within 2.5 meters and then tapered out to 10 meters. Because of this, the damage was very consistent over a large radius, which made them perfect for spamming with a bandolier and just racking up loads of infantry kills. The downside was that anti-vehicle grenades basically had no killing potential when it came to actually dealing with vehicles, as moving vehicle targets meant that your maximum damage was rarely ever realized. Fortunately, the new patch changes some things. Anti-vehicle grenades still have a 3-second fuse, same as always, but now they will magnetize to enemy vehicles, turrets, and max units. In other words, they act like the engineer's sticky grenade, but you can't stick them to walls, floors, or infantry. The new AV grenade deals 700 infantry damage within 1 meter, and then tapers off to 5 meters. This is a massive reduction to their killing potential versus infantry, but it still allows them to wreck shop versus enemy max units, even without a stick, and it gives them some renewed potential against ground and air vehicles. I do specify infantry damage because that's what the numbers are always listed as. That's not, however, how much damage they actually deal to infantry and vehicles, because there are always resistances involved. So, just so everybody is on the same page, I put together a chart of how many grenades it'll take to drop each kind of target, or to set it on fire. So that's all the damage, but there are also a number of quirks associated with the new anti-vehicle grenades. The first of which is that, against a deploy shield sunderer, your grenades will do a lot less damage to the shield than a rocket will. Now, example being, if you put 4 grenades onto a shield, it won't even take it out, and it'll take you 6 decimator rockets afterwards to destroy the sunderer from that point. Now, if you do things the other way around, if you drop 3 decimator rounds, which takes out the shield, and then you've still got 4 grenades and 1 decimator left, you'll actually be able to kill a shield sunderer start to finish. So, instead of needing 4 grenades and 6 rockets, you just need 4 rockets and then 4 grenades, and that's actually doable by a single player. A quirk of the anti-vehicle grenade's sticking mechanic is that it will not stick to vehicles or max units after it's already bounced off a surface. So if you're trying to pull off some trick shots and hoping to get a blind stick, it's not going to happen. And so you know, yes, you can stick friendly max units and vehicles. However, a funny little bit worth noting is that after a bounce, the grenade will go right through max units, which basically means that you can throw these grenades through allied max units if you're clever and the right situation presents itself. Another interesting bit about grenades going through max units is that grenades will not stick to their arms or their head, at the very least in VR training. Currently, you've got to stick them right in their chest or right in their legs, and the arms sort of make sense as that's not even a target for normal weapons. Shoot a max in their outstretched arms and the bullets go right through, but your head is a target normally. So I think this is just a bug that'll get worked out, and maybe it's just in the VR. I haven't actually gotten a chance to test it on live. The last sticky quirk is that stacking AV grenades on top of one another can actually de-stick them, as in you'll knock a sticky down if you throw one on top of another. That said, just spread your grenades out over the target area when you're spamming against a vehicle. And speaking of target areas, AV grenades deal damage based on the location that they are stuck to, not based on the angle at which the player was when they threw the grenade. This might sound like common sense, but if you fire a rocket or an engineer's AV turret round, the damage is dealt based on the position of the player in relation to the vehicle. So it doesn't actually matter where you hit the vehicle, it only matters where the player is. Given how AV grenades work now, this actually bumps up the heavy assault's combat effectiveness from a couple different angles. And the obvious one is being that you can now actually deal damage to vehicles with your grenades. A less obvious one would be how, normally, when you know a max unit is in the area, you'll pull out your rocket launcher so that when you turn the corner, you can deal some damage to it. Now the problem with that is, if an infantry rounds the corner before the max unit does, you'll blast that poor soul in the face with your rocket launcher, and then have to run away and reload or what have you. You've done it, I've done it, and sometimes there's an amusing rage tale that comes afterwards, but having an anti-vehicle grenade equipped means that you'll be able to keep your primary weapon out to deal with infantry, and you'll still be able to deal as much, if not more damage, than a standard decimator round. This is a great benefit when moving in on a max unit and you can't be exactly sure who is around the corner, though if you know that you won't be running into any infantry, pulling out your rocket launcher will still be a better option because you can snap out the alpha damage a lot more quickly, and then get away before taking return fire. Grenades have a longer wind-up time, they travel slower, and they sap your mobility while you're throwing them. That being said, I hope this breakdown of the revamped heavy assault grenades gave you some insights on how it changes the game a little bit, and how you can possibly use that knowledge to your advantage. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and if you've noticed any other interesting quirks about either grenade, or if you like the change or don't like the change, let me hear about it in the comment section down below. Thanks very much, folks. Wrel signing off.
Do we all want to go in at once and just take it by force, or do we want to keep doing this?
You're all really need to go right now.
Okay, just throw a grenade in there and it should take it out easily.
Go, 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 go!
Oh, I guess it's already down. Okay.
We need medics, we need
Problem
medics.
solved.